Hello, beautiful, and welcome back to my channel, Beautiful I'm Colored. My name is Evelyn, and last week I shared with you the intro and dedication versions of my book, Beautiful I Am Colored, for which I am reading from each week for the next several weeks. Today, I want to give a disclaimer about the first chapter in my book, which is called Foundation is Everything. If you are a person who has been subject to any type of abuse, this particular chapter may be triggering. So I want to give, 3 seconds for if you're not into that, you're not ready for that, to go ahead and log off because I definitely do not want to contribute to anybody's challenging times. Okay, foundation is everything. The first sexual violation in my memory occurred on the backside of Pearly Gates Baptist Church in Memphis, Tennessee. I do not recall my actual age, but I know for sure that I was not school age and had to be younger than 5 years old. The perpetrator was a much older boy who was also a friend of the family, but I do not recall his specific age. We were on the backside of the church when the boy pulled out his penis and had me stroke it. I vaguely remember not being sure how to process what was taking place, but at the same time, it was the beginning of an awakening to senses that arguably shouldn't be awakened until an appointed time, and that time should be defined by me. Even though I was not cognizant of sexual encounters, nor was I able to understand what was going on, I knew that something was terribly wrong with this type of behavior. Little did I know that there would be a series of encounters like this one at the hands of so called friends, friends of the family, or family. The second earliest memory I have took place on a patio in Corning Village Apartments, also in Memphis, Tennessee. This was a low income apartment complex full of what seemed to be a lot of women. The patio was small, stamped concrete ish, with a tiny wooden fence around your little piece of earth. I assumed that they designed it this way to make the space feel intimate and personal. I don't remember ever seeing too many men around, just women and children, predominantly black women and black children. I was at one of my mom's friends' homes in the complex, either visiting or being babysat. This friend's son was around my age, and it seemed to be convenient for us to be curious about each other's private parts. What do you have versus what I have? Again, my body was awakened. Years later, my mom would have a boyfriend who would also prove to be untrustworthy. I remember him having a cool car and motorcycle, and he would ask me if I wanted to learn how to drive or if I wanted to take a ride on the bike. I don't recall the exact order of these events, but I do know that this boyfriend had quite a few encounters with me. One of those moments happened when my mom thought it a good idea for my brother and me to stay the night at his apartment so we could go fishing over the weekend. This boyfriend had a small boat too. When it came time for bed, we made pallets on the floor of this boyfriend's living room. At some point in the night, this boyfriend decided to, quote, check to see if I had wet the bed. I had already developed a pattern of bedwetting, which we now know to be a sign of trauma. But back then, I was just simply embarrassed that I couldn't wake myself up to go pee at night. I remember being startled at his touch. And when I asked what he was doing, he said something like he was just checking on me. At some point, I was asked if I wanted to learn how to drive his Camaro. When I said yes, what kid wouldn't? He said I would need to wear a dress with no panties. Thankfully, I never took him up on this offer. I was offered a ride on his motorcycle, and I took him up on it. He was to drive me to my grandparents' home in the countryside, for which I thought I knew the route. In Memphis's countryside where my grandparents lived, there were no street lights, so at night it was very dark. If the moon wasn't out, it could become very difficult to see at night, so I couldn't provide directions like I would have been able to had it been daylight. It seemed like as soon as we were under the cover of darkness, this boyfriend of my mom's reached one of his hands behind his back to slide it between my legs. I don't remember what happened after that, nor do I remember ever getting to my grandparents' home. To this day, I hate motorcycles because of these encounters. I think I might have liked fishing more than I do now, but again, an encounter at a young age contributed to my not enjoying the sport. It's very weird for me to start my first chapter with these stories, but the truth is that molestation and the guilty feelings associated with it have actually contributed greatly to who I have become. Those early encounters of direct and indirect sexual exploration fostered in me a sense of distrust in almost everyone I come across. It is very rare that I exhibit trust on first meeting someone. There is always a sort of courtship that takes place on my part, and this courtship is mostly conducted via observation. I watch and I watch your actions. Are they consistent? Consistent of what I perceive to be good? Consistent of what I perceive to be bad? This type of behavior is not healthy, I know, but nonetheless, it has contributed to who I have become, the mother I am, the wife I am, the friend I am, the sister I am, the daughter I am, the cousin I am, the niece I am, the grandmother I am, the one who most people trust. But here's the great news: I don't have to allow all those negative encounters that happened so long ago to dictate my future or my children's futures. I can choose. I can choose to learn from them, have them build me up rather than tear me down, and be an example of hope and a future to others. In fact, I have allowed those encounters to slowly evolve me into the me I always knew was there. My spirit is stronger and not broken. My love is greater and not diminished. I am who I am because I choose to live a life full of abundance and worth, and dare I say it, to be the standard. In the blank pages that follow, let your pen be used as a tool of healing as you do what my grandmother told me to do. Just write. Whatever is on your mind, get it out. Don't think about it. Don't check for spelling or grammatical errors. Just get it out of you. Good, bad, or indifferent, but right. Now, at the end of each chapter in my book, I do have writing prompt, which is the grayed out area here, and then some space to write. So I'm going to read the question, and then we'll get ready for the next story for this week. What do you think of these experiences I shared with you? Have you had similar sexual experiences as a child? How have those experiences shaped you, your life, who you are? And we will start now with the next story. And away we go. I graduated from high school in May 1996. And a few days after the ceremony, Marlon, my high school boyfriend turned husband, and I packed my 1989 Toyota Camry and headed across the country from Memphis, Tennessee to Boulder, Colorado. A couple of years prior, Marlon was awarded a scholarship to attend the University of Colorado at Boulder. It was time for our daughter, Caitlin, and me to move so our little family could be permanently reunited. At the time, our oldest was a year old and we were 18 and 19 years old with a vision and a plan that most thought was crazy. Plenty of people doubted our decision, family included, but we believed that we could do anything if we did it together. The trip was roughly 18 hours, so a stop was required at the midway point. When we approached Kansas, the weather turned dreadfully dangerous as rain pelted the windshield of the car so hard we could barely see inches in front of the car. I had never seen dark gray clouds so low. It was as if I could reach my hand out the window and touch them. I remember praying that we would make our destination safely, and thankfully, we did. Leading up to our arrival, Marlon and I both saved up as much money as we could to cover the deposit for family housing at the University of Colorado. We lived in a small 2-story unit. It was our first place, and although we didn't have any furniture, and I mean nothing, we slept on the floor for the first week, and Caitlin slept in her car seat. we were content. Boulder was absolutely gorgeous and the city beautiful. But there was a pit in my stomach when we arrived. I'm not sure if I sensed what lay ahead or if I was experiencing homesickness, but as happy as I was to be there, something was off. Writing prompt. Have you ever experienced an internal warning? What happened when you ignored it? What happened when you listened? Okay, and that concludes this week's reading. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope more than anything that it brought a message of hope and healing to you and perhaps even a bit of curiosity. But I thought this was a good way for people on my channel to get to know me rather than doing the typical get to know you video. And I love reading aloud. I am going to conclude that for today. Thank you again for watching. I hope you'll come back next Sunday for the next installment of me reading my book, Beautiful I Am Colored, which I published in 2022. It's been a pleasure sharing with you this week. Wish you a wonderful Memorial Day weekend and a great week. Be safe out there, and remember, the future you is waiting on you.